These movies weren't just panned by critics. Their own directors disowned them, apologized for them, and in some cases begged people not to watch them. One called it a murdered baby. Another used a fake name just to escape the shame. These are the films even their creators couldn't stand. The psychological crime thriller from Alfred Hitchcock was one of Hollywood's most experimental films. Hitchcock called Rope an experiment that didn't work out. The movie was shot in real time using 4 long takes edited together to give the appearance of a single, continuous take for the entire running time. Hitchcock directed with meticulous measures, making sure props, cameras, microphones, and actors were harmoniously choreographed and in sync. Both the film and the play it's based on share a homosexual relationship between its main characters, controversial for the time. The real dissatisfaction, however, came from the tedium Hitchcock devoted himself to. This gave him the fear something would go wrong during the shoot. At one point, an electrician was caught in a scene. Hitchcock would painstakingly shoot the entire film over again until it was shot all the way through uninterrupted. A previously unreleased film from comedian Jerry Lewis, The Day the Clown Cried, was prevented by Lewis from ever being seen until June 2024. No complete film negative exists, and its release has been withheld due to copyright issues as well. Lewis, along with other comedians, were apprehensive about playing a German clown that led Jewish children to gas chambers during the Holocaust. But he took the part and made revisions to the script. Lewis made a dark comedy with a sympathetic clown, wildly insensitive and downright problematic. Lewis did it to show a stark contrast between life and laughter. I believed it could be a black mark against people who felt strength from hate. I feel weak from hate. Despite Lewis' fears in making the controversial film, it highlighted some events of the Holocaust when little documentation was being done at the time. Today, it still challenges the fine line between humor and horror. Joel Schumacher was pushed by the studio to make his film more toyetic. The idea of making an abstract film even more abstract by treating its cast as inanimate objects defeats the purpose. Schumacher agreed with the negative response the film received and apologized to Batman fans. A lot of it was my choice. No one is responsible for my mistakes but me. Batman and Robin was like I had murdered a baby. Josh Trank didn't care for the superhero genre when he signed on as director of the Fantastic Four reboot. Trank wrote his own script against initial screenwriter Jeremy Slater's. Trank was instead inspired by David Cronenberg's The Fly and Scanners for the dark aesthetic, but his version of the film was redacted by 20th Century Fox during production. Trank posted his dissatisfaction with his film on Twitter one day before its release. "A year ago, I had a fantastic version of this, and it would have received great reviews. You'll probably never see it. That's reality, though." The Hellraiser series went in a new direction under the supervision of its author and original director Clive Barker. When Miramax Films agreed to the pitch for Hellraiser Bloodline, they lowered the budget due to the expected cost of intricate scenes. Kevin Yeager was a special effects technician brought on to direct. Over the course of filming, crew members either suffered illnesses or were replaced until the film's completion. The events that occurred may or may not have been a consequence of filming at the supposedly haunted building. Exhausted by the shoot, Yeager declined reshooting the studio's requests and left the project. Yeager ended up removing his name from the credits and using the nickname for directorial disappointment instead. Alan Smithee. Breaking the Fourth Wall is a useful social commentary tool for director Woody Allen. His comedy, Annie Hall, is often regarded as his best film because of the candor behind the technique. Audiences thought the film revolved around the relationship between Annie Hall, Diane Keaton, and Allen's character, Alvy Singer. For Allen, the focus was meant to be on the mindset of a male and a self-critique of his public figure and neurotic humor through the semi-caricature of Singer. He said, "In the end, I had to reduce the film to just me and Diane Keaton, and that relationship, so I was quite disappointed in that movie." The irony of Allen addressing the audience and still not getting this point across the first time is priceless. David Fincher disowned Alien 3, saying, "I had to work on it for 2 years, got fired off it 3 times, and I had to fight for every single thing. No one hated it more than me. To this day, no one hates it more than me." The third installment of the Alien franchise was Fincher's directorial debut, and he had big shoes to fill. The production team wasn't as passionate as Fincher was, leading to frustrating studio interventions and rewrites. A masterpiece of science fiction by Frank Herbert was adapted by the surrealist director David Lynch with a negative reception. Some argue that the film was inaccessible to audiences unfamiliar with the novel. Others thought the disjointed, ornamented storytelling from Lynch was heavy-handed and too abstract. Rather than having the main character be treated like a god, the film instead makes him a god. As a result, sequels with Lynch were canceled. The director said that Dune was no one's fault but my own. I saw tons and tons of possibilities for things I loved, but I knew I didn't have final cut.